My name is FAISAL Sheikh. I am the CEO of a company called Jack of Digital, and I want to thank Pinnacle, I want to thank Stark, Pakistan, Adnan and Kamran for having me over today. Over the last 2 decades, essentially, I've spent time in multiple countries, multiple environments, and multiple fields as well. I've spent time in video game industry, in the tourist trade, then finally more focused on digital marketing and advertising. It's been about over 10 years that I've spent my career and of my development within this particular area. And what has happened is the world kept on changing, and I tried to keep up with it to some extent. It's impossible to keep up with the whole thing, but I try to at least try and attach myself to what's growing and see how things pan out. In the last 15 years in Pakistan, what I've noticed is that there are a lot of naysayers. So every time you try something new, everybody is looking at you as if you're a fool and try to determine how quickly you'll fail. At times you fail. I failed a number of times. The thing is, it is all about staying focused towards a goal, and the goal is to succeed in life, succeed in professional life as well as personal life. And I think both are interconnected as well. So school days were interesting. I used to be fairly introvert, had a kind of a gang that I'm still connected to, and these are old friends. Now everybody is losing hair or going through other things. But the most interesting part is that things started changing after college. And this is the time I still didn't know what was that I wanted to do. And the one advice I had from my father was, regardless of what you want to do, you've got to study. And that's how I ended up at Zabist. Worked my behind off to prove a lot of people wrong, that it was not possible for me to do things. But essentially, even after completing my master's degree, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had a few good teachers, mentors, and friends who kind of guided me towards getting into what was something new, something exciting nobody really knew anything about, but something to explore. And that was data and advertising connect, and how to connect customers with businesses through marketing and using technology. And that is what I started focusing on. And after masters, again left Pakistan after working for a while in advertising, spent some time with an engineering company as well, and still had no clue what it was that really got me going. And it wasn't until I moved back to Pakistan about 15 years ago that I saw that there was some acceptance of what I had talked about in my term papers, in my thesis, and started working towards it. And this is where my career actually started taking off, that I was talking about stuff nobody understood. But at the same time, it was something that kept me going, that this is what the new thing is, and this is where we'll eventually get to. 15, 20 years ago, nobody had realized that we'd be talking on cell phones, let alone text messages. And now you can't really survive with it. People have stopped buying watches just because when they need to look at the time, they're looking at their cell phones. So technology has taken us to that level, and this is what I wanted to kind of be at the cutting edge of technology and building that bridge between the customer, the brand, the business, and using advertising and communication to get to that. And to further my learnings, essentially I decided to go and do a digital marketing diploma from Dublin. That is what got me going into the most current areas of digital marketing. And then much later on, I went to MIT Sloan School, did a boot camp over there, and learned so much more. It kind of opened up my world, which my previous 20 years worth of education had not opened up. And I wish everybody in Pakistan could go do those courses and learn from the best. These are the people who actually wrote the book we've been taught in school with, and talking to them, interacting with them, and getting them to answer your question was an absolutely amazing experience. this whole experience, so I'll start with my teaching experience. And the reason I went into teaching was that I did not like the people or the quality of the people that was coming for interviews for entry-level position. And I literally had to beg for my first teaching job because the person I was talking to did not trust me with the students, and she essentially said that I'm going to mess with their heads rather than teach them stuff. And that's what I've been doing pretty much for about 14-15 years now. So first I started teaching at IBA, did a few courses at BizTech, now I'm associated with IBA. And the thing was that it gave me a little bit of satisfaction into that I'm trying to contribute something. I hope people have learned from what I've been talking about. And the whole idea was that if I know something and if I can transfer a little bit of it to somebody and they can get a head start. It took me 22 years, almost 23 years to get to where I am. And if somebody can do it even one day shorter than that, that's a win for me. Having spent time on different projects, different workplaces, focusing on different aspects of the business has also taught me a lot. And the whole point of professional career is that you continue to grow. And that growth comes in from learning. So you can never stop learning. Having spent time working on e-commerce projects, initially it was very painful because people really didn't understand that you could really buy something online. Then it was about people saying people will never buy clothes online because they have a need or a habit of feeling things. Now people are buying bread online, people are buying groceries online. This is something nobody in Pakistan had ever dreamt of. And now everybody is talking about it. And everything I've done essentially leads down to that one piece of the puzzle, which is the customer. So understanding their needs, understanding their wants, their desires, and at the same time building that bridge between the product and the customer is where I try to put myself in and see where I can make improvements in the entire process. So we started Jack of Digital in the dead of COVID. So this was conceived during the lockdown, and we thought of it as a hobby project initially, and it started shaping up into a business venture that when we started looking at numbers, the environment, the way things were changing. COVID in some ways was the best thing that could have happened, at least in Pakistan, where it expedited the growth of digital, acceptance of digital. Every shop that was closed in any commercial area in Pakistan had a handwritten sign, some were a little bit more enterprising than that, but everybody had one thing: call us, we will deliver. Go to our Facebook page, we will deliver. Go to our website, if they had it, we'll deliver. And that is what started that instant punch into the gut saying, look, digital is here, this is the future, this is how things will be done. Now, getting out of that COVID situation, thankfully, and thank God for it, but what we've seen is people are not going back to their old ways. People are ordering groceries online, and every day they're finding new customers, food's being delivered, contactless deliveries. Nobody had thought this would happen. And this is what has also fueled the growth for banking services. We pretty much have the most unbanked population in the country. Mobile wallets were there, but suddenly everybody was thinking about, hey, I need a digital way of transferring money, receiving money. This is how we paid people who worked for us. This is how people received money. Easy Paisa, Jazz Cash, even any small transactional based product that was available was instantly adopted for use. And this is why we see a huge boom in the startup culture in Pakistan also. Everybody who had an idea thought, we can pretty much do this. And this is what they focused on. And this is where I see a big win for the country, for the economy, because it is also causing people to become documented. Right? So going back to our venture, what really happened is that we started off, like I said, as a hobby project, and it turned into a business model. That business model turned into a reality. In about a year and a half, what we've managed to do is become the exclusive resellers for TikTok in Pakistan, exclusive resellers for Eskimi DSP in Pakistan. Then we've also collaborated with Share It for Pakistan market, and we also have a collaboration with a Japanese entity for managing online ad fraud. With the pros, there are also the cons. So with online advertising, there is also a lot of leakage that needs to be controlled, and Spider AF makes that possible for advertisers to make sure that they're not losing their money to unscrupulous elements which are available online. I'm not a leader, I'm not a manager. I'm simply a person who likes to work with people. I want to see people grow, I want to see people excel, go beyond their potential, explore the world, and the bottom line remaining that they operate in the world as perfectionists. They start thinking the problems through, they focus on their own development, and the businesses grow, the companies grow. And this is not only for us, this is for every business essentially. Work with your people, don't make people work for you. This is how things work. Nobody's a leader, nobody's a manager, nobody's an employee. At the end of the day, everybody has a stake in the company. Everybody wants something out of that business. And if they're getting it, that's the best solution there is from an HR standpoint, from a financial standpoint, and it makes sure that the businesses grow. Failures have happened, will happen. It is always an eventuality that something will fail, either because it is too soon, or it is too late, or it's simple bad luck. It could be any one of the things that can go wrong and cause a venture to fail. If something does not get off the ground, you need to take a step back and realize and assess whether it is you that is causing the failure, or is it the environment, or is it the people around you, and you need to make changes accordingly. But then there is also a time to abandon the project. It's hard, it's tough, you've invested time and money into it, it is hard to let go, but then you need to cut your losses short. And this is a lesson best learned from financial advisors, especially people working in the stock exchange market. That is when you need to go for a stop loss order and say, look, this is it, this is what I want to do, I want to exit, and you need to exit at a certain point. At times I've seen that failed ventures eventually become successful. It may not be you who does it, it may be somebody else, but if you've made your mark, you can still feel that somebody learned from your mistakes and made something better, and wish them all the best. It's not just that maybe you were not capable at that time, you've learned your lesson, you worked on something else. Rather than wasting time and brooding over it, it's better to move on. I think there's time for work and there's time for play, but they also tend to merge. Depending on what you're doing, if you love what you're doing, half the time you're relaxed anyways. It is just the stress of day-to-day things that might keep you occupied. But if you love it, it's very, very satisfying. At the end of the day, you're walking back fresh and upbeat about things that you've accomplished that day or are planning to accomplish the next. If you try and encroach upon personal time with your professional time, I think it is a disservice to yourself and your family. Everybody needs time off, everybody needs time to relax, everybody has different ways of decompressing. Personally, I read books, I watch movies, play with my kids, I cook at times, and these are the ways I deal with things. I think nobody's a young entrepreneur, everybody's an entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur at a much older age. There's no time to start, no time to end. Any time is a good time. If you have a good idea, you should go for it. But you need to be smart enough to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who can correct your mistakes and are not afraid to correct your mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has their own share. The biggest mistake or disservice you can do to yourself is believe that you know everything. You don't know everything. You might be good at stuff, but you can't be the best on everything. And hence the name of our company, Jack of Digital. We know some of the stuff. We are better at that stuff than other people, but we are not the best on everything. And that is the reason we continue to learn.